Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday morning to you. We have a lot to cover, and at the end, I have another Finn update. I'll keep giving you guys regular updates on here so we can keep up with him and his progress. All right, let's jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. To start with, Princess Anne has been listed once again as the hardest working royals. Anybody shocked? She carried out in 1 year 457 engagements, okay? Now, King Charles came in second place with 425 engagements, and the Duke of Edinburgh came in third with 297 engagements. Now, we know that Anne usually goes to several commitments in a day. She's traveling across the UK, she's traveling abroad. This year alone, she went to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Cyprus. She's super, super busy. And, when you think back that Meghan Markle did 72 engagements in like 2 years, yeah. Okay, also behind King Charles came and Duke of Edinburgh came Queen Camilla, who did 233. The Duchess of Edinburgh did 219. Prince William did 172. And the Princess of Wales did 123, keeping in mind that they have 3 young children. Moving on. Let's talk really quickly now about King Charles. His coronation photo has been selected for his Christmas card. And in this picture, as you can see in a second, he's wearing his imperial state crown, the robe of estate, the coronation tunic, and Camilla has on Queen Mary's crown, the robe of estate, and a dress by Bruce Oldfield. I think that's a fabulous photo. Now, of course, the Prince and Princess of Wales then released their annual Christmas card after the King did, per protocol. This photo was taken by Josh Shinner earlier this year. I love it. It's a classic black and white portrait style. Notice that the girls' jeans are a little bit lighter in color than the boys' jeans. I love Charlotte's longer hair, and I love the fact that they all just look so relaxed. It's a fabulous photo. Now, the other thing I happen to notice in this photo, if you'll look, is how tall George is when he's standing next to Catherine. I believe Catherine is about 5'9". Keep in mind that George is only 10 years old, or just barely 10. Look how tall he is. He's going to be, I really seriously have a feeling that he's going to grow when he's done. He's going to be taller than Prince William. Love it. Really quickly, I want to touch on this article. I don't know if this is clickbait. I'm not sure what this is, but we know that Johnny Depp was at Shane MacGowan's funeral in Ireland, and it's being claimed that Meghan Markle showed up uninvited the previous afternoon. She made an unexpected show at the funeral, and it looks like Johnny, that's being, stated, went up to her and said, "You don't belong here." Now, this article does go in depth, and it says that Depp confronted her, and she said, well, I was just a big fan of his, and I wanted to be there. And Depp, who, has apparently been, he doesn't like Meghan Markle. He apparently, according to this article, allegedly accused her of using the funeral as a publicity stunt, said that she was not welcome there. She's considered a traitor and a hypocrite, and apparently, allegedly, he called security and had her removed from the premises. They said that people that were watching this reported that Meghan resisted and attempted to gain support from other guests, but no one came to her defense, and she was escorted out of the church and driven away in a black SUV. Now, this article goes as far as saying that a spokesman for Meghan Markle expressed her deep sadness over McGowan's passing and insisted she meant no harm by attending the funeral, and also mentioned that Meghan had been a victim of harassment and bullying by Depp and the Irish media, and that she might be pursuing legal action against them, and that Meghan looked forward to the release of her documentary, which aimed to shed light on her life and struggles. Johnny Depp, on the other hand, it's saying, did not issue a statement. For me, it's saying that you actually spoke to people who work for Meghan and you've got statements from them. I'm going to keep an eye on this story. Moving on. Next up, we all know what's going on with Harry and the Invictus Games, and there's a money shortfall because they're spending so much money on Harry and Meghan. Well, this article came out saying William's Earthshot Prize is in chaos because there's legal woes. But the legal woes belong to the people that have stepped down, not the Earthshot Prize. One of them is Shakira, who apparently has decided she's not going to pay taxes. She just settled with the Spanish prosecutors, but now she has another fraud investigation going. But that's not the Earthshot Prize's problem. That's Shakira's problem. So Shakira has stepped back. And the other person, Danny Alves, has been accused of assault. And apparently they're on some list of this year's finalists issued by Kensington Palace, where they're listed as a judge. But that's not a stain on the Earthshot Prize. They trying to liken it to what's going on with Invictus. Not happening. Moving on to this next article. Somehow it just didn't surprise me. Do you guys remember the other day, the man on GB News who said that Meghan is constantly offended by the most inoffensive things, like she's always looking to be offended? Well, apparently Queen Elizabeth, because Meghan did not identify as black until she went to the UK, offered Meghan a black equerry to help her feel, quote unquote, more comfortable while she acclimated to working for the royal family. And remember, this comes from Endgame from Omid Scobie. The palace said that the late monarch's Ghanaian-born household cavalry officer, Lieutenant Colonel Nana Kofi Ankara, was going to step in to help Meghan adjust to the new royal duties. He's supposed to be very charming and intelligent, but according to Omid Scobie, Meghan said he stood out like a sore thumb, and they were insulted when the palace suggested that he help her, which, according to Omid Scobie, was due to the fact that there was a, quote, lack of black or other non-white staff in relevant senior roles. There you go. Don't forget, she was offered Susan Hussey, who she turned down. Sophie tried to help her. She turned her down. Samantha the Panther Cohen stepped in. And so finally, according to Omid, the glaring but unspoken problem was that none of these experienced palace aides were women of color. So the Queen offered this gentleman, and she turned him down. Now, that brings up an interesting thought, because remember, in the Netflix series, Meghan said nobody treated me as a child of color growing up. Well, that's because she didn't tell anybody, as we now know. So why does Meghan have an issue when it comes to black men? Her first husband is white. Her second husband is white. All of her boyfriends are white, right? I agree with this Twitter user. Why are there two standards? I don't get it. And there are standards, for sure. Two standards. She is a racist. She was offended when she was given a person of color as an equerry to help her. Now, keep in mind, again, she said in the second episode of that Netflix docuseries that she wasn't thinking about how race played a part in any of this, and she didn't think about it. She said it's different to be a minority but not be treated as a minority right off the bat. And she said people were aware of my race because they made it such an issue. But before that, people didn't treat me as a black woman. They didn't, but even her own agent said he didn't realize that she was half black. She didn't tell anybody. Next up, this story came out. I have no trouble believing this because remember, Harry introduced Meghan to Diana's brother and sisters and went, doesn't she look just like Diana? Doesn't she just alike? And blah, 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 blah. And Earl Spencer and Diana's two sisters apparently did not see the similarities between Meghan and Diana. And they also said that they thought she would struggle to fit in with the royal family. And this time it came out that the Earl Spencer 3 separate times cautioned Harry not to marry her. Moving on. Next story came out. One of the showbiz Bible magazines, The Hollywood Reporter, has come out and labeled Harry and Meghan show business's biggest losers of 2023. After they got roasted on South Park, they were dropped from the $20 million Spotify deal, and the projects were considered to be, and I'm quoting, whiny. Yep. So the writer of this, his name is James Hibbert, and he apparently wrote a scathing review. He mentioned their whiny projects, which would be Spare, and then the part Netflix docuseries. But he said that being roasted on South Park was literally, quote, the pin that popped their sanctimonious bubble. Now, this guy said at the end that despite all the scorn and mockery and their failures in Tinseltown, it probably still beats having to attend 200 plus official royal family engagements in a year. And Kinsey Schofield, who we know, said that the Sussexes making the list will have a WME scrambling to figure out what their next move is, because that Hollywood Reporter is like the Bible in that city, and it's going to hurt them personally, as well as whatever it is they're going to do in the future. They're going to be scrambling. Well, they're scrambling anyway. Listen, everybody's going on about they want back in the A-list. They were never in the A-list. Now, new articles are coming out saying that Harry is absolutely ridiculous because he's constantly blaming everybody else about this, from the Queen's aide to, everybody, over this whole security row, okay? He just can't take any responsibility for himself. He was claiming now he was forced out of the UK because of the argument about his, security bill. Harry blamed what happened on the Queen's equerry, who also was part of Ravik, and it was his fault. But the new papers that have come out from the senior aide say that he actually tried to ensure that Harry and Meghan had effective security while in the UK. It's Ravik. And it's between Harry and Sir Edward, who he nicknamed the Bee because he claims he was oval-faced and fuzzy. So, this has almost become kind of a joke. The Queen wanted them to have security during their 12-month, probationary period. And Harry picked on this guy in the Spare, but that's what he does. He attacks people. Moving on, an article came out from Jessica Mulroney. She put up some sort of a Instagram post with a cryptic quote about people who feed into lies about other people. Now remember, she and Meghan have had no contact now in 3 years. She wrote, quote, "Anybody who believes lies about you before even hearing your side of the story was already looking for a way to be against you." Interesting. You guys, you know that Meghan Markle claims that she didn't sign an NDA so she can say what she wants when she wants. I can almost guarantee you 100% Jessica Mulroney did not sign any kind of an NDA, and she could open her mouth at any time. This ought to be good. Moving on. Let's turn our attention now to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and Omid's book. Okay, so in the book, it was reported that Catherine was outside in the garden at Kensington Palace with her children rather than meeting Meghan on the first day she came over to be introduced to William. But apparently in the translation, that's what it said in the translation. But the truth of the matter is, Catherine wasn't home. She was out with the kids. So apparently what happened in the book, Meghan gave William a hug, which, he claims took, quote unquote, Willie by surprise because he's not much of a hugger, per Harry. They exchanged some pleasantries and Harry asked, "William, where's Kate?" And he said, "Out with the kids." And he said, "Oh, not a big deal. Too bad. Next time." Yeah, but of course Meghan got offended. And I hate to point this out to you, but in yesterday's video, I showed you multiple changes in the book. They've made 8 major changes. We covered them yesterday. I'm not going to cover them again. But I think Omid realized he might be in some legal trouble, so he better go ahead and make these changes now while he can. And some of the changes are very obviously being made by the Sussex camp. The backlash was such that when Omid was having to redo the book, he did what he could to make the changes. And now everybody is picking up on the fact that those changes could not have been made unless Harry and Meghan were involved. Is it any wonder then that William and Catherine's popularity is going through the roof, with Catherine getting a 44 positive rating and William getting a 36 positive rating, while Harry only scored 28 and Meghan 21? This is in the United States. So Omid Scobie's book only sold 6,500 in the UK and 9,000 in the United States in the first week. Those are horrible numbers. Horrible. Again, Omid is changing the text in the book. He's now more respectful towards the royal family. He's toned down his language against Prince William. We know he denied he revealed the names in the book. We know that he threatened the people who did the translation. He threatened the publisher. He blamed everybody, only come to find out that he was completely responsible for what happened. So what is Omid doing? He's run to the United States and he's seen going to the gym. Let me just say that this is not going to be the end of this story. I think the Dutch translator should sue over the allegations, the unfounded lies that Omid made. The Dutch publisher could possibly sue. I think Omid's in deep doo-doo and he doesn't realize it. Now, in the middle of all of this, they're saying that if Harry and Meghan don't do something big in 2024 in Hollywood, they're dead in the water. I got to be honest, I don't believe that at all. I think they're already dead in the water. Hollywood has already had enough of them. They're not invited to any of the A-list events. Any awards they get are awards that they have bought or they've gotten through donations. There's always a give and take in the middle of all of this. Their relationship with the royal family going down the drain. The more they whine about the royal family, the more people are just like, would you get over yourselves? You live in a multi-million-dollar mansion. You have such a life of privilege. And all you do is whine, whine, whine. The Princess of Wales is now being hailed as the people's princess by a U.S. poll. And Meghan is far behind her. This is what happens when you're not grateful. And finally, I have to touch on this article about King Charles not letting Prince Harry emotionally blackmail him over the children. We know what happened when Frogmore was lost. Harry goes, but don't you ever want to see your grandchildren? Problem is, the whole time he had Frogmore, the kids were only there one time, and that was during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I believe that Harry has been using those kids for blackmail all along, and I think the king has had enough. Harry has not cultivated a relationship between his father and his children. He could have gone back at any time with those kids on a regular basis. There didn't need to be anything big going on, but he didn't do that. He was always holding the kids over his head. Now, apparently, Harry and Meghan have to give 28 days notice if they want to go back, and they still could, but they don't. And I believe that King Charles, while he may not see it now, I do believe he's better off without all of this going on. There you go. All right, here we go. Fin update. That black mark, by the way, was me marking out his collar. You can see the area where they shaved and they poked a hole and they drained all that fluid out. And this is what he did. He came home, he sat in his crate, and he just stared into space. And he stood there, and he stood there, and I couldn't get him to lay down. And finally, my husband literally lifted him and put him down, so now he's resting. It was the pain medicine. He was just in a daze. By the time you watch this, he will have gotten his Monday morning and his Monday evening and his Tuesday morning antibiotics. And hopefully we'll see a big change, because today he's still very lethargic. Oh my goodness, you guys. Yes, lots of information. I want those comments, so make them good. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button. If you've already subscribed, double check. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.